All right, greetings and welcome to AlonzoBash Podcast. I'm your host AlonzoBash, and today's special guest, man. This brother is a living legend in Trinidad. A matter of fact, all over the Caribbean, internationally known. I mean, you guys heard the intro. I don't want to go on and on and on and on and on, but trust me, man, I'm so proud of this brother. His mama and papa named him Karen Seeley, but we know him as Sunny Bling. Father, welcome.
Thanks for having me, man. How are you doing, Alonzo?
That's cool, man. You know it is another day in paradise.
Nice. You
All
should
right.
be on the streets of Miami right now.
You know what? That is so true. But sometimes, man, you have to kind of give and take, and these one of these give and take moments.
Right.
Yeah. But we're definitely gonna make up for that next year for sure. All right. Let's start with your background. So you were born and raised where exactly?
I am a Sawa Central man. That's the best way to put it. So my parents are from Laventry Road, Sawa. You know what I mean? And their improvement, as you would call it, is when they decided to get their own home and whatnot was down in Central.
Yes.
Cunupia Enterprise, Shogunas area. And that's more or less the living right there,
So you spend most of your time in the central area?
Central, correct.
All right. So what was the family structure like growing up? Mom and dad, of course, you mentioned, and the brothers and sisters and so forth.
Yeah. I have a sister abroad, and well, basically my bigger brother and myself right here.
Yeah.
And mommy and daddy. I grew up in what you would call the nice house long time. What I mean, not wealthy house, but what I mean, if you have both your parents and and you live in, you're all right.
Right. That's nice, man. Your dad, I understand. Your dad is a retired police officer.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. What was it like growing up with your dad being a police? I mean, I'm sure he had a
Boy, daddy was real strict. Boy, daddy was like real strict. Right? So daddy was no joke, right?
Yeah.
Daddy is the man who used to draw the line real seriously, and I was a real miserable youngster too. So because of that, I had to be reprimanded differently. Yeah. So I always getting grounded or banned, or you end up getting a few lashes here and there. Yeah. Because daddy was a no nonsense man, you know what I mean? Basically because he was part of the police service as well. The way he carried himself was a big deal too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And understanding where he would have come from in terms of how they grew up and whatnot. You always want better for your own children. So they didn't really play much games in terms of allowing us to just backslide and do what we wanted. Nah, they really wanted better,
Yeah. Nice. What about mom?
Cool, I'm used to working mommy working at like Ministry of Labor.
Okay.
So within the government, that kind of vibe. I'm like the typical Trinbagonian. I remember growing up long time. The talk was trying to get a decent work, either get something in the government, or you work on the TSTT, or you end up in Petrotrin, or you try and see if you can end up in TNTech or WASA. These are the things now. You know what I mean? So, or be a policeman or a fireman. The traditional things all children would say growing up. I want to be this.
Yeah.
So that the general run of the mill. And that wasn't really, mom used to sew as well too. Mom used to, because she grew up, she learned that from her mom as well.
Yeah.
So she would have been sewing, not like no designer or no kind of thing really, but basically, she might still make a pants and a shirt here and there. She'd make some things for herself. One, two friends would come and order pieces as well that you would make. So it was that kind of vibe.
Yeah. She was like the local seamstress back in the day.
Well, boy, not even so big, I wouldn't go as far as I say the local seamstress, but yes. Yeah. When you have a room in your house that actually kind of dedicated to it, I would say yeah.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. All right. And what was the early schooling like primary school and so forth? What school you attended?
With me, I went to Rosary Boys RC.
Okay.
Rosary Boys in Port of Spain. That was a real nice school.
Yeah.
That's where I met a lot of your friends I would even see now in entertainment. Some people that you see out here now, I actually knew either a sibling or they would have also passed through Rosary Boys. I think it was like one of them schools in Port of Spain that saw a lot of nice faces.
Okay. Nice. All right. So we went to Rosary Boy, and what was secondary school like?
That was cool, I was with Brooke.
Okay.
That was cool. That was a decent kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Nothing too fancy. Basically, I was like a class clown. Basically, that's where you more find yourself. So in primary school, you was miserable, but secondary school, you was one of the popular guys. Not because you're like a bully or nothing, but you're just funny and stupid at the same time, and
Yeah.
relatable. So secondary school was a real nice place to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I saw a clip where you was in Rima. That's where I'm from originally.
Right.
I think it was in a primary school, and you was talking to the kids, and you was telling the kids that when you left school, you only left school with two passes. Back then, I think was English and Spanish. And of
Right.
course, just like you, I born and grew up in Trinidad, and one of the things was if we have five passes or at least three minimum, you ain't going nowhere in life.
Yeah.
And I remember you mentioning it as well. What was your ambition when you left school? When you left school, what was that for you? What was your plan? We only two passes. I mean, there's really much you can do at them times,
Well, you see, the funny thing is that it's not at that time. I always had a real independent way of thinking, right? So I was always a creative thinker. Was always, as I say, into this kind of comedy thing, doing a lot of this glad stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I always had a passion for cooking as well. So even in secondary school, I did food and nutrition. You know what I mean? And I did that in secondary school, but then I kind of gave up on it before exam, so I didn't do it as a CXC subject. But as soon as I finished school, even though I have only two passes, I still wanted to cook. So I actually ended up in the Hospitality Institute, and I did culinary management.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because I really wanted to pursue cooking. Now, the funny thing is that I was talking to someone this week. Now, cooking to me and entertainment is hand in hand. You know what I mean? Because it's really about expressing yourself through different means, right? So in food, you experience, you see, you eat with your eyes. When you see the food, you know what I mean? You enjoy that when you see it. So the food in itself is a presentation. You know what I mean? So being in the culinary side of things was just as much as being on a stage to me, more or less. You know what I mean? And while there, I actually ended up in that pageant for Mr. TTHG. I won that.
Okay.
Then there was the student guild elections. I was the vice president of the student guild for a point in time there. And in TTHI was where I met Jason Piru, who's actually like Chef Jason. You may see him online as Chef Jason. He was in my class. And he was the one that told me, hey, you need to go on audition for so-and-so comedy tent.
Okay.
And that is where I went to the audition, and here we are.
Wow. What was that experience like, at a comedy tent?
Well, I would say it was like being at Comedy University, because I had the opportunity, I think, basically to work with, as I said, what we would consider to be the greats, from around us. So from Chunky Ting, John Agitation, Lee John Agitation, Sprangalang. These were people, Beulah. You know what I mean? These were people that actually had the opportunity to share the stage with Larry Joseph, Tommy Joseph. You could keep going on around Damien Melville. All the names that we would have known going through the Caribbean, more or less growing up. I got the opportunity at the very end of the tail to be with them for like about 3 or so years, and it was a real nice experience. So a lot of my skits on stage actually started with Sprangalang, meaning, like, for instance, involved him, meaning that he actually had like a 2 lines where he would just come in and either want to know, hey, what you doing on the stage here, boy? And I had to respond to that kind of vibe, or maybe he running me off this. It wasn't like a direct something, but we had that interaction, and that was real great for me. That was a big deal.
Wow. That says a lot, man, because, like you mentioned some legends. I mean, John Agitation, Sprangalang, Tommy Joseph, for us growing up, those were the guys. And I'm glad that you mentioned that also, because now, as you can see, Trinidad comedy, especially the youths now, guys like Rody, guys like 35 Sampson, the list goes on. And I actually made a post a couple of days ago, or weeks ago rather, about how these guys actually took the talent to the social media and pretty much put it on a that talent at an international level, which is very, 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 very impressive in itself. All right, so you started doing the comedy thing, and when did that transition from comedy transition into radio or broadcasting?
Well, to be honest, I think it kind of like went hand in hand. If I could tell this whole story differently, but I'll chop it up a little bit. So in the comedy world, right, the comedy side with the stage with the Larry Joseph and all of that led me to Shal Marshall, right? You hear the names are calling right now. So
Yes.
let me to Shal Marshall, because Shal Marshall used to do Friday Night Live on Synergy TV,
Yes.
right? So at one of those comedy shows, he was there and he's like, hey, what are you doing here? Because I used to be doing a lot of partying because of, the tertiary level, everybody in the clubs and they were DJs. So
Yeah.
he didn't expect to see him at a comedy show. And he was
Right.
like, what are you doing here? I was like, no, I was now on stage doing a little piece, whatever, whatever, whatever. He said, boy, why you don't come on Synergy TV on my Friday evening show as a guest and do a skit on the show? I was like, all right, no problem. Went down to do the skit. And then on the Monday after the skit, he called and said, hey, Peter C. Lewis was real interested in the vibes and he think you should come and join the team.
Okay.
So from the comedy stage is where I actually got the opportunity to go to Synergy TV. And then at Synergy TV, I had the opportunity to be like a fill-in alongside Nikki Cordner.
Yes.
Nikki Cordner had her own program and I was like a little side something, like, like a little sidekick on this program and a couple other shows. And that also led to when Boom Champions was getting ready to open their radio station, they came to Synergy TV to launch the radio station.
Okay.
And in doing that, the producer of the radio station, who also had some little, kind of, I was getting a little internship in hosting a couple of things, basically, at that time, borrowing my father clothes and things to go to host after work limes and things. But the producer of the station was the same guy, but I didn't know that.
Right.
So he told me, he said, hey, I might have an opportunity for you on the radio when we open this radio station. And now December 15th coming this year is going to be 20 years I'm on radio.
Yes. Congratulations, man. Congratulations.
Yeah,
Boom Champion. I don't know. The first time I met you, I'm not sure if you remember this, man, but I'm gonna put this out there for the record because a lot of people don't know this story, and it's a very true story. So one year I been to Trinidad, I believe was 20. I'm guessing 16 now. I can't remember specifically, but I remember at that time Orlando Octave's.
I think I was still on Boom.
Yeah, I think Orlando Octave's song was very popular back then. Pump it up, pump it up. Anyway, make a long story short, I was in Arima, and my old mate father, Platt, who usually sell clothes right there opposite TSTT. I was standing there, lineman, talking to him, and you were doing a promotion at a clothing store right there in the corner. I can't remember the name of the place, but I didn't know who you was, to be honest with you.
That's on Nevico, right?
Yeah, right up at the TSTT in Arima, and Platt said, hey, because he knew I was in entertainment business, whatnot. And he said, hey, you know Sunny Bling? I like, nah, who's that? He said, come, let me show you. And he took me into the clothing store and introduced myself to you. Now I'm saying this story for a reason. You didn't know me from a can of paint, right? But you're very humble. You're very humble. And I said, hey, listen, man, I do radio too. I would love to come to the station. Can I see the vibes or whatnot? Now, mind you didn't know me from paint. And you're like, all right, no problem. You give me a contact, say hit you up, I call you, and you invite me down to Boom, and I came down, saw the vibe, and the rest is history. But I say all that to say, man, one thing I noticed about you, you're definitely a people person. Where that came from?
No, on a serious side, I would say it's part of the job that I don't know if everybody understands.
Yeah.
For us to be involved in entertainment, what I've learned over the 20-something years, like 22, 23 years, is that we have to like the people as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because if you're doing things to entertain people, people are going to be attracted and gravitate to you. At some point in time, they're going to want to see you, they're going to want to say hi. And I think I incorporated that mentality going. As I was always into people, I couldn't be bothered. You know what I mean? I don't mind. You can laugh at me if you feel like, but I'm just glad to be entertaining ever since a child. But at the same time, if it is you don't understand that this is a marathon and not a sprint, and to get as far as you want to go, basically, you need the people. Yeah. You're not bigger than the people at no point in time. You're on the same level as the people, and so it's understanding that you're doing it for them. So even, for instance, let's say in communication-wise, you're walking the street, I'm no big celebrity, but you walk the street and let's say 5 people take a picture with you, and then the 6th person now is because you mentally may be drained. You actually need to still take that picture because this one person, it might be the very first time they're seeing you in this life. They've seen you online, but they may have never seen you in person, and then you know exhausted, but it's first time they see you, so they're excited. So that first impression thing is still something. And this is not knocking anybody in particular at all, because I really do with everybody. But I'm just saying, in terms of me and the way I care about my art form, I understand the importance of the people, and maybe sometimes people don't understand that side from us. Meaning that we are human beings as well. You can have an off day, you can have a bad day, you might have bounced up the person on the wrong timing, but at the same time, you just have to engage with the people, man. That's what entertainment is all about. Whether you're on stage, you know, as I say, you could be a chef. That's why they put the extra flames and the whatnot. You're entertaining, you're doing it for the people, you know?
Yeah. If you had to pick one between being a chef or the cutlery or the arts, what would it be?
I would say, that's a hard question, boy. If I have to pick between being a chef and the arts, well, I love them both, and I still do them both, to be quite honest. Entertainment, I think, maybe brings more money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you want to look at it, like paying bills. And it's not, what's that?
That's it. Faster. You know, it bring more money, but
correct. You know what I mean? It bring the money faster. You know what I mean? And maybe it might be a more enjoyable, less strenuous job. I enjoy the two of them, but it's less strenuous. Meaning, of course, if you're in the kitchen to prepare, it might take you 10 hours. To depend on what you're doing. You might be in the kitchen 15 hours to clean up. That's also part of the job. Don't forget that part. You know what? But in the entertainment, of course, you just go out and have a great time and maybe come back sweaty. You know, so I can't answer that question fairly, boy. I really can't.
Yeah, it's cool, man. That's why I asked. All right. So 20 years in radio or broadcasting, as I would say, professionally. Of course, you did a number of interviews over the years. Is there one particular interview or maybe a couple of interviews that stood out within that 20 years?
As in people that I would have interviewed?
Yes.
Any one interview that I would have done, well, I didn't really focus much on interviews because I'm not really a journalist per se, right?
Yeah.
But I have interviewed people. What I would say is maybe in terms of introductions, so something I've had the pleasure of doing would be, because I've hosted a lot of shows, a lot of concerts, I've had the pleasure of introducing a lot of acts on stage who also people again that we looked up to. So remember in school days, you singing all your Beres and you're singing Sizzler and you're singing all these things, and then you actually had the opportunity to share hotel spaces with these people.
Right,
you know what I mean? I remember in 2006, I believe, which was the first time I went to Grenada to do a hosting gig.
Okay.
And that was with Mama Nasha and Sizzler Kalonji, big up Big G on that one. And I remember the morning I stepped out onto the balcony, and I look across and Sizzler was outside on the balcony too, boy. So I was like, this 2006, you ain't too long come out of school, and Sizzler, who you going to introduce later on the balcony breezing. Like, wait, but back to answer your question properly though, I introduced Nicki Minaj when Nicki Minaj came to TNT.
Okay.
And that show, that was Boom Days, Kevin Baker and myself, I think, did that.
Yes.
I was there on stage with Buju, you know what I mean, Everton Blender, you know, late Coco T we introduced recently, you know what I mean, Dawe Congo, you know, Desiree. I've introduced so many amazing artists in the art form, and then all of soca music.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I've hosted all the Calypso legends, David Rudder, you know what I mean? You name it. You name it. Sparrow, I get to introduce already on stage. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So these things mean a lot to me now.
Yes.
You know, more than the interviews, I'll say the introductions I've had the opportunity to put on was a blessing. Baron, a man I love dearly.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. I mean, you answered the question pretty much the right way. Like I said, I should have rephrased it to introduction, but you made a good point too. I mean, you hosted a number of events. Of course, Soca Monarch is one. What was it? What was the first Soca Monarch like? Like how that call came? Like, hey.
No, well, all right. So Soca Monarch wasn't really a call like that. It was more through radio station. Now, big up to O'Brien Haynes, of course, who, you know, radio stations would operate. They would usually have a lot of inroads in terms of the advertising, partnering with events and whatnot. So Soca Monarch, being as mega as it was at the time, wasn't something that was just, they would just call everybody through radio stations. When they network, the radio stations would say, now, our first entry, I think, was like doing the broadcast. So as a radio station, we were there early on the scene saying, hi, g'day, welcome to, you know, Soca Monarch, Queen's Park Savannah, here we are, blah, 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 blah. Right. And then there was the opportunity when they asked for MCs on stage from the radio stations, I think, and they were like, you know what, we're sending you and you and you. Everybody has like a little shift to do that you can pull on the stage, introduce a couple of people, and it just kind of grew from there.
Yeah.
Until, well, of course, my personal brand got a lot bigger, and then
Yeah.
And then they called. So, and then remember the Soca Monarch also changed hands.
Yes.
Yeah, they had a lot of, you know, the franchise one went from here to the other side. So different promoters would have called me on board. When Fayan and Bungie were in charge, I got to host under them as well too. When we went to Jeffrey Lake and the team as well, I got to host with them as well too.
What is it about your style? Because at the end of the day, it's a business, but you always seem to be very authentic to who you are, but yet maintain the professionalism. What do you think the reason why they kept you in that Soca Monarch brand?
Run that by me again. Let's see some connection there.
All right.
Yeah.
Your style, for folks who not familiar with Sunny Bling, you're very professional, but as we will say in Trini, he's a kind of a kicksman also, you know. But there's something about you compared to there's a lot of hosts in Trinidad specifically. All right, I'm talking about the Soca Monarch brand. Why you believe that they kept you after they changed so many different hands in the Soca Monarch brand? What it is about you believe that they like so much that they kept you as a host for that particular brand?
Hello.
Yes, boss. Yeah, like we had a little issue just now, but yeah, you're
Oh,
back.
yes, humble apologies. Right. Back to
Yeah.
business.
Yeah, I was asking pretty much the Soca Monarch brand changed hands right a couple times, but it still kept you as the host. What is about you that you believe that they wanted you for that particular band to be the representation?
I don't know, personally I think it's about being the right fit.
Yeah.
So I also ask clients those questions as well over
Okay.
time when things like that happen, I see things have changed, but why me? It's
Right.
something I also saw. I'll even go back to radio actually. So even on Boom Champions, I changed around 6 to 8 different morning show teams.
Okay.
But what I mean, as in people around me would have, revolved, and I stayed constant in the morning show. You know what I mean? So basically, I think what I take from those things is that I am doing something right.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you're better than anybody else in particular at all, but it boils down to maybe what you are doing at this point in time is exactly what they need. And if something isn't broken, they don't fix it. So, for
Right.
instance, if we need to enhance on different parts of the show, maybe we need to fix this, that, that. But for now, maybe that host is fine. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Yeah.
And you see it in other places as well, not just with me. You would see places where you'll see a CEO or CEO for 20 years. No, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? My point is, why does one person of all these years, So maybe they are bringing something that exactly what they need at that point in time. And I actually appreciate that. That told me that my brand and style was working and the idea was right, because being a creative is not easy. You know that. So when you putting things out there, you're hoping to hit, just like an artist, as a soca artist or a hip hop artist. You're trying to hit and make sure, hey, all right, what we doing is coming of age, and the people are enjoying it and they're loving it, and they're going good. So you can only improve on that. So the one again next year, boy. All right. So what can I do different? So for instance, there was one year I remember, I think 2016 or 17,
Yeah.
when I decided to start changing suits in different categories.
Okay.
So, for instance, in Groovy, I came out in one suit to host the Groovy category. And by the
Yes.
time halftime came around, before we go to power segment, now I came out in a different suit.
Yes. Yeah.
Because again, what could we add to the pot to enhance the thing a little bit? This year, already last year, and you weren't singing.
Yeah.
So, what can I do? And I guess that's it.
That's a good point, man. Because I myself host events, and I remember one time I do the same thing. Change, your outfit, because to me it adds it adds a certain level of professionalism. So, so every time you enter the stage and they come up with a different outfit, the crowd looks at you different because they're seeing something different. So they're more attractive. But with people that the kick say, boy, who's you? How can I talk? I say, man, just let me be. But that's a good point you brought up. All right. 2019, United Way, Day of Caring. you pretty much participated in United Way, where you actually was in the streets of Port of Spain as a homeless person. How was that experience?
Well, for the overall experience was an educational one for me.
Yeah.
Right, I learned something on that day. The most I'll take it to the very end and come back down. So the most important thing I took away from that in particular for me was that being homeless or on the streets, mobility is a big deal.
Yeah.
And having proper footwear
Yeah.
is really important, right? So, for instance, I was walking around the streets barefoot in the middle of the day when I was like 11, 12, 1. I wanted to embody the whole vibe of what they wanted at the time, right? So I did the makeup and I said, no, I don't want any shoes or anything. I want to walk barefoot and just be on the road because that's what you see.
Yeah.
And I learned within those couple hours that the ground at a certain time of the day, because remember, we have on shoes all the time and we don't think about that.
Yeah.
The ground at a certain point in time in the day is so hot that it is absolutely unbearable to just be walking up and down the streets, right? So and I say this because we often see a lot of homeless people just sitting at the side of the road, right?
Right.
And we would quick to judge and we might say, why does one don't get up and move from here? Or you big able body, why you shouldn't be doing something instead of sitting down there? But we didn't realize or even think that what about if the soles of this person's feet is so sore from walking on this ground that they just can't move, they need to sit down.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest takeaway for me. And you know what's funny about that you bring that up? Because this week I saw a wholesaler that has a deal on slippers.
Okay.
And ever since that initiative in 2019, and it was to bring awareness to the people, but what it did for me, since 2019, I was like, you know what? I'm going to start distributing footwear more to the homeless than anything else. Because we might look at it that way, but as much as they may need food and everything else, a lot of people support homeless with food and these things. I would say that. You see people always giving, right? But some of these simple things we don't look at, like a slipper.
Yeah.
Just a slipper. It don't have to be a brand name. The point is just a little space between them and the ground.
Yeah.
To keep them moving a little more. Maybe they didn't want to sit down in front of your place in the first place, but their foot sore. So, as I mentioned, as I said, I saw a wholesaler this week that I saw had some a deal on a bulk of slippers.
Yeah.
So I want to actually go and purchase some more slippers for the same thing that you mentioned there.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And I actually have a lot of homeless friends in Port of Spain. And when I say homeless friends, meaning over the years, because I've worked in town for so long doing entertainment and whatnot, and interact with everybody, I have a few homeless people that I've grown pretty close to, that they will see me, hail me out by my government name. And say, hey, what's going on? There's one that comes and checks for me at the radio station ever so often, like he know when I working. And he would just be waiting outside, like, hey, what's going on, boy, you good? And he just passed through, you know? And I don't know, I think since that program as well, even before that, is a love again for people, you know what I mean? Just knowing that everybody is everybody. So I would sit and have a humble conversation and hear what's going on, because remember, they always have stories, So a homeless man might say, hey, Alonzo, hear this one now, boy. I'll update you, boy. You know what's going on out here, and then too busy to listen, but he just really sharing another story.
Right.
You know, and he get your update. And you realize, boy, this is what going on. He said, boy, and you realize if you could really just save one person, it would have been so nice. You know, but I could start by doing the slippers.
I like that. I like that initiative. Chana Imabara. How you came up with that whole concept? I think it was a parody to Iowa George Savannah. Am I correct on that?
Correct. So that again, because of the comedy side of things, I never wrote that song. That was never formally recorded. That is just comedy, as in that's what a long time comedy would have been like. You know, maybe just pass on a song and create a vibe. I love doubles. Doubles is like my national dish.
Yeah.
So, you know, I just made something happen, and then Iowa George at the time was like, yeah, there's a vibe, and he co-signed it. He was like, yeah, cool, no problem.
Right. Okay, so we will stick with Iowa George. Well, let me come at Iowa George real quickly. So I'm going to talk about this Chana Nabara, but I've seen clips. It pretty much matching up Soca and so forth. That song was so big, you know, is like you say, it wasn't an official song, But it came to the point that there was a big highlight that you was going to perform this song on Marshall Monday, right?
Right.
What happened on Marshall Monday that you couldn't perform the song? You need to go into the big city detail.
I guess it was a miscommunication between Iowa George and the team internally there.
Yeah.
Basically, because I was more or less part of what I would assume to be Iowa's performance, because he invited me to be a part of his performance on the night, basically. So this was not an official invitation from the camp internally there at all, which I understand. However, I believe it was a miscommunication. You know, I mean, if I was if I knew, I didn't even know what already happened, to be quite honest, in terms of not being allowed on, you know what I mean? So if it is I was told of something beforehand, I would not have made myself present, to be honest. But I really don't know in full what really take place there, but I know it's miscommunication, to be quite honest. You know, I was invited by one party, and then, as I say, I was down there on backstage in the event, so I don't know, you know, it will just make it that far, I guess.
Yeah.
So I was invited and then told at the last minute, nope. And I was like, all right, cool, no problem.
Yeah.
And that was the most.
You know,
that's the most, you know.
Yeah, you know, Trinidad, man, that whole situation turned into a big thing, you know. But yeah, I wanted to get your take on
that. But it happens, you know. Some had gone, you know, I mean, life is a learning lesson, you know, and TNT, we all here still, everybody's still prominent, doing well.
Yeah.
So it's all up, I guess.
Okay. You made you have on your post you usually make I guess ask Sunny or your opinions on certain things that's taking place in the industry. And of course, you have mentioned Iowa George specifically still participating in competitions. So what's your take on that? What's your honest opinion?
I was just mama guy in Iowa at the point. No, don't get up. Me and Iowa cool. So what I mean, so at the end of the day, I know there's true no job because there's no wicked man thing or nothing like that. But me and Iowa cool too. And at the same time, that was a new competition basically. So it came out this year was a brand new competition. Yeah. I knew a lot of the convo was a circuit centered around young people. And I was like, more like new talent, to be quite honest. Yeah. More than anything else. So I just decided again, comedy, gladness, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah. And then, you know, see, I work on the competition. I was like, oh my God, that's not my fault. I didn't do that, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you know? I also said it wasn't my fault too, you know what I mean? But at the same time, people can do what they want where competitions are concerned. I am not against any particular artist entering competitions at any particular age or stage. There's no cutoff point if you ask me. Yeah. You could do whatever you feel like doing, you know what I mean? And people can say more or less what they want to. That's also why I kind of pull back with the thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because you're not trying to offend people nowadays. People are more easily offended with this style. Not my style, but comedy on the whole is a kind of offensive vibe if you get nowadays because it was like a Muslim, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
So I cannot stay back from that, to be honest, because you try not to offend the people really.
Yeah.
So in competition, you could do what you want, enter where you want, to be who you want. I was my partner, mama guy, a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, like you mentioned, 20 years in the business. Anything you have planned? That's a big number, you know. Any anniversary plans? Any things you plan on doing? You know, any major projects moving forward and stuff like that?
From an anniversary level, I really not certain what I want to do. I've been thinking about doing something with maybe community based or same way maybe on the street for the people, or I really not certain what I want to do like that. But at the same time, it's just being thankful to be here, you know. Yeah. I mean, in this space, as in just be able to create and be relevant after 20 years, it's still being allowed to host shows, go on television, and somebody invited to a podcast, for instance, you know what I mean? Because they believe you have something that's easy to be heard or whatever. I think after 20 years, in any field at all, you want to be thankful that you're still relevant and valuable to it. Yeah. You know what I mean? So if it is your police officer or whatever, you want to feel appreciated and valued around what it is in work. So in the past 20 years that I gave my life to this entertainment thing, plus I just thankful to be here. Yeah. And I'm so proud of the future of entertainment, as I mentioned, with the Trinidad and the Certified Samson and Cass Ramses and Kyle Boss and Simi Trini and all of these local acts. It's like we seeing these, like something like I Division, I also for myself 50 years ago, we see it happening over the past 5 years again with other people. They catching their own visions.
Yeah.
You know.
So true. All right. So you mentioned comedy.
Right.
What's your Mount Rushmore of comedians? You could do both. Let's keep it local. You know, meaning let's keep it local. What would you say is your Mount Rushmore of comedians? So you have worked with them. You've been around them.
Rushmore of comedians, boy.
Yeah,
Locally, boy.
20 comedians.
Local Trinity comedians, young and old, or we going with like from back then?
Um. Wow, young or old. You know what? I think.
Because remember, now, I had the opportunity
Yeah.
of working, I mean, seeing on both sides, right? So for instance, not a lot of the youngsters might see that. So I don't want to call no names and anybody like nowadays be slighted with people they don't even know about.
I agree. I agree. I agree. But let's go back to the foundation. Let's go with the foundation because it'll be an injustice for the young ones coming up.
Okay. If I want to go back like that, no, wait. No, where's the one thing about the theater, boy? So
Yeah.
in theater, there are some people there too, and I mean, I have the Penelope and Cecilia Salazar and you know, I mean, Raymond Chipwell and Richard Ragobert saying, and you know, what I mean, there are names, there's real bad people on that side too. Nicky Crosby, oh my God, Nicky Crosby. I was so proud when I actually got to work with Nicky Crosby. So let me say Mount Rushmore real quick. Just sign it up, boy. Yeah, that's gonna be real hard, boy. That's gonna be real hard. I can't even nobody. I'll put Larry Joseph, Sprangalang,
Yeah.
Beulah.
Sprangalang. Can you say Sprangalang, Brula, Lejo? That's three. So you have one more.
Yeah, boy, that hard, boy. I don't people get to know right now already. And
Yeah.
and 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 and, and, and Nicky Crosby.
Vicky.
I'm putting Nicky Crosby on my list, boy. I said, like,
Yeah.
because we got to balance it, ladies and gents now. But watch me, it's talking to us.
Yeah.
Real bad. You know what I mean? Watch me, there's so many comedians that I know and love from people that I grew up with. It's just looking at and admiring. I've never seen beautiful people like them.
Yeah. I know you did Hotel 21 with Nicky Cosby, right? That was a theater.
Correct. We did a few days actually. I did about 5 days. Ran for quite a bit of days. That was amazing. That was with Richard Rambert and their brother Mason. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's amazing, brother. These are
Yeah.
not joking. No. This is to me. This is like training Hollywood now. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And you actually get the opportunity to work with all of these people. You know, so it's a big deal.
You know people too, man. You know names. You call it some real names, you know. Trust me. You call it some real names.
These people, I watch me. I talk about getting to training when you realize that like the revenues I'm on site, but you need to go and sit with these people. Truly, I was that day, 5 days a week, just to be with these people because of this. It's tough.
Yeah. What was Beulah like?
Very jovial,
Yeah.
very laughing, kind. She's a mom, since we're serious at that time. Which, you know, I grew up in the church as well. Everybody have like the church
Yeah.
story, right? So I grew up in the church as well, and we went to the same church as
Okay.
well.
Yeah.
So besides seeing her on stage or on the TV in the little commercials, she was in the same community as me in Central.
Okay. Okay.
So I knew her sons and that kind of thing. And again, it was in the same church, right? So you
Yeah.
just see her and you hear her talk all the time. And so being around her like that, she was always a very jovial person. Real
Okay.
nice lady, happy, nice lady. Big up your husband and all too. Can't remember that. Can't remember the name of the bad, but he was always there. You know what I mean? He always there driving. I think I see Pharaoh at the time.
Okay.
And that's the man. Yeah, daddy husband was always there. You know that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. So I like Bill. Bill was a very nice lady. That's the best way to put it. Jovial, just what you saw in the commercials, but she's smiling and she thing and nice and wrong and bubbly. Right, really nice person.
All right. So this part of the Well, before I get into that, man, I know your dad as well. And you have a family. How are you able to balance both ways? Your professional life and your family life. Because I know being a dad, I'm sure the time had to be serious, you know. So, and
no, well, I'm a serious man, you know.
yeah.
Sometimes. Now, but the balance is really in terms of the serious side of things. My children understand that I am normal human being like anybody else, so don't take me for granted. If we speak on serious things, we speak on serious things. But most times I try to keep it a little relaxed. You know, like long time we used to be the children. I get a licks too, but I was miserable. But I try not to be, you know, that hands-on gay the licks. But we spend more time. You know what I mean? My daughter is 6-year-old right now, playing chess in school, part of the chess club. So no big chess master, but you know what I mean. My point is that's an opportunity for me to say, you know what, let me spend some time playing a little chess with you if that's the case then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we get something to do with each other. My big son, he's into mechanics now. He's 13 years old, but he loves cars, you know what I mean? So we always talk about cars, the Lego builds, the techniques, or if it's drifting, you'd go to a drifting show. You know, so I think it's just basically you may not have all the time in the world, but it's understanding how to spend that quality time then. So for instance, let's say because we're busy, we're on the road, like whatever, but you only have one day. You have one day to spend some time. I have 4 children. So the point is, let's say we have one day to spend time and it's 4 of them. Either we do something together or I like to do something individually. So in other words, that person gets to feel what they want. So this Friday, my daughter was like, you know, since before, I was like, Daddy, I want to go to the beach. We had a day off from school on Friday. I had the day off. We went to the beach. Now, it was only 2 out of 4 on the beach. But the point was that that's something that they really, really, really wanted to do in that moment. So we did what they wanted to do in that moment. You know what I mean? So it's just making the right amount of time. And your children will understand too. They know that you're busy. They know that you're working. They know that you're providing. But they also appreciate when you spend time. Your presence worth more than your presence.
Yeah. I like to say that. I like to say that. I like how you say that. I like how you say that. All right. So
it's hard sometimes, you know, but I ain't super busy. I'm not so good at this store in the world, so I have a little more time, I guess.
Yeah. All right, so this part of the podcast is called 2,000 Questions About Me. It's actually a book that I bought a couple of years ago. I'm not going to ask you 2,000 questions, obviously.
I would hope not, yeah.
Pretty much what I do, I give the guest opportunity to pick a number from 1 to 2,000, and the number that you pick is going to be the question that's going to be asked out of the book.
How am I certain that the number that I pick is the question, or you don't have a question already prepackaged waiting to say that is the question from me now?
No, the book right here. See, you can see it. The book right is official book. It's official book. It's official. I plan on doing some more things with this book, but yeah, it's official. It's official. So yeah.
All right. If I'm to pick a number in there, let's go with 1955.
Wow. That number was specific, man. 1955.
Yeah, let's go 1955.
1955. All right, let me see. 1955. Okay, here we are. All right. What is the greatest peer pressure you ever felt? What is the greatest peer pressure you ever felt?
What is the greatest peer pressure I ever felt? That's a serious question, man. The greatest peer pressure I ever felt, boy. I would say if I want to be, you know, I mean, not funny about it, but anything like that, I would say, nah, but I can't even say that, boy. What was the greatest peer pressure I ever felt, boy? I would say to learn to drive.
Yeah.
Strange enough, I would say that. I would say because all right, in terms of being, if I want to pick one decent thing to say, I'll say to learn to drive, because growing up, I grew up with a lot of boys in my community, right? So I mean, like fellas all over the place, man. So we had a little small halfway basketball court, something, and everybody used to gather. And thinking about it, it was like 20 something in terms of the age groups, man. It was like wide gaps, and I was at the bottom of the list in terms of age, right? Okay. So I grew up watching everybody do their things first. So my brother, who's 5 years older than me, who was in a certain batch as well, when they would go to parties, I would get to attend the parties as well. So, you know what I mean, getting to do what they were doing at that time. So seeing everybody driving now was a big deal. So I was really, really encouraged heavily to learn to drive now, boy. Learn to drive now, boy. Because everybody can have their license, and if me as the youngest one at the time, by the time I could have been a driver, if I get my license, then there's no shortage of cars for me to be access to me, or that kind of thing. So wanting to drive was like a big pressure on my back, I would say, for me. And it paid off because I real drive today, boy. I don't drive like that. I mean, right now I'm still in my chariot right now. This is my office, my private jet, my everything right now. You know what I mean? I just, yeah.
You do a lot of videos in the
drive. Yeah, a little bit. It's a style that I got now. Remember, nothing is brand new under the sun, right? So it's a style I got from a couple content creators online. Like there's this guy who does conversations in a Bentley.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where he's sitting down in the back of a Continental or some kind of thing. So I'm actually sitting down in the back of a A6. Okay. You know what I mean? So it's conversations from the 6. How does that sound? No, that didn't sound good because we're not in Canada. But my point is,
well, you're watching numbers, you're watching numbers.
Oh, that's the next thing, correct? Yeah. And I ain't no part of none, so yeah. Let me don't do that. Yeah. But Trinidad is a blessed place, man. Trinidad is a blessed place. Everybody just trying to find a way, I guess.
Yeah.
And trying as best as we go, though.
Yeah.
What's going on with you, though, brother? You're asking me a lot of questions. What's going on with you? What's the latest with Bashman? What's going on?
Well, I mean, you see, this happens, I know. I don't feel this is going to happen because every time I interview people that are pretty much in the media space, at the end I was still wrong, and and ask me questions. This is fine. I mean, I'm great.
You take me from primary school straight up the road. You I don't know if you go and get this. You go and get this thing too. So my point is, what's going on with you? What's going on?
Hey, I'm just cool, man. Humble as Allah, man. Just trying to document. Guys like you have been doing so much for the community over the years, and I really believe that the reason why I really I told Mr. Caleb beside this story, I said the reason why, because my background, just like you, is in radio, and a lot of times in radio, when you're doing an interview, to me it feels rushed because the person might be most of the time is on a promo, and they get to the meat. And I noticed here, especially in the US, a lot of people document their stories in the podcast form. And I feel like it's something that now there's a lot of podcasters in Trinidad that's doing it, which I really, really love. Big up guys like KG, big up guys like Corey. I love what they're doing because I really believe our story needs to be told and documented. However that is documented, it needs to be told. Because, prime example, a lot of things you said today, a lot of people didn't know. And I think it's very important for you to tell your story, and certain things your kids and all, family might even know. And your story within itself help motivate others, so that's pretty much, well, other than that, man, I'm cool, man. It is, that's cool. Fighting the fight.
So when next you coming to TNT?
I was supposed to be down there for Christmas, but most likely it's looking like I'm gonna be down there in April. Yeah, my dad, but it's in April, so that's the plan. Bring the kids down.
So who would you say are like the top 5 locals in the US right now, like trending names from TNT? If we're talking soca music, to you would say like on your charts right now, you would say the top 5 trending names in the US right now would be like who?
Wow, that's a good question, man. Top 5 trending names in the US right now in soca.
Yeah.
I would say this though. I don't think it really boils down to the top 5 because I mean you hear the common names. But I would say we call it small islands, the Grenada, the Vinci music.
Hey, don't dance from the question. I just had to build a whole Mount Rushmore for you. You are going to give me an idea of who are the top 5 trending names to you in the US right now.
Oh man, that's a hard question to ask, man. Is it really? Okay, I'm based. I'm based in Maryland, and
right.
I believe New York is really like the mecca for.
So who do you hear most in Maryland right now?
In Maryland, oh boy, Maryland. Who here in Maryland? Who is popular in Maryland? JDL. JDL is popular in Maryland.
Right.
Who else, man? I mean, Mikel Teja, his name is popular out here as well. I mean, you got Lyrical, he's popular out here. I mean, I would say the the regular names. You ever been to Maryland or the DC area? I thought you was in Brooklyn recently.
I've never been to Maryland.
Man,
I'm not well traveled. You know. I mean, I humbly apologize to the world.
No,
But
listen.
I'm getting there.
Well, I'm giving you a personal invitation. Next time you coming up and you come to New
Yeah.
York, you can't come New York because Maryland is not that far from New York, really. Actually.
Right. You have a couple of friends out in Maryland too.
Yeah, so next time you come through, man, link up. Trust me, I got you. Real talk.
Okay.
Yeah, real talk. All right. Any other questions?
No, I good because you already answered the question to the very best, and you dance from it as best as you can. You're trying to be as diplomatic as you can possibly be. You don't want to swear away any artist from the program.
Yeah.
I understand. You know what I mean? But no, it's a pleasure just to be here. Actually, you have any more questions to me, sir?
Well, I mean, at this point, I'm just going to open up the floor to you. If there's anything you want to tell, your fans or any, messages or what have you, you want to say from.
To all the viewers out there, thanks for taking in the program. I hope you enjoyed the segment today. If there's any question you think you didn't really ask, maybe you can send me a little email or something, sunnybling@gmail.com, or hit me up on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook or one of these places.
Yeah.
I just love doing what I do. Being yourself is a real big part of this in terms of entertainment, no matter what part of the job that you do it from, maybe a guitarist, percussionist, backup singer, lead singer, or content creator, host, MC, no matter whoever you are in entertainment, whatever service that you provide.
Yeah.
Just be yourself, you know what I mean? Anybody out there trying to get involved with entrepreneurship is concerned, because just be yourself. People always want to say, like, who I should try and be like, boy, or if I should be like, no, you can take a lot of pieces from different people to inspire yourself to be greater, but at the same time, you can be a lot further in this life by just being yourself. And right now, the world that we live in is so accepting, boy. I think it's the best time to be yourself. You know what I mean? As in, just be the best you can possibly be, and don't doubt yourself. Believe in God. Have faith in God is really important. You know what I mean? Say them prayers. Say your prayers. Teach your children about praying. Teach your children about respect. Teach yourself about respect. I'm not a perfect human being, but as we grow older, we just keep reminding ourselves that this is a marathon and not a sprint. And we have way further to keep going. You didn't reach where you think you reach going yet. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're like on the top of the hill and it's like, wait, I didn't realize I'd be on top of this hill, and you think you reach. But if you really turn around and look up again, there's a bigger one right behind you, and you keep going now.
Yeah.
So just keep believing in yourself, and you never know where that final destination might really be in terms of growth. You know what I mean? Just keep going. We're on our podcast right now. What are you doing here?
Well said, man. Once again, man, Sunny Bling, I definitely want to take this opportunity to really thank you and give you your flowers, and your contribution to not just a culture, a Caribbean culture in Trinidad and Tobago, but internationally. I mean, you're definitely, I've been looking at your career, I should say, rather, for a number of years, and you definitely bring joy to a lot of people. Listen to your program on Slam as well. And yeah, man, you're definitely very entertaining. I mean, if you have never seen Sunny Bling host an event on stage or weddings, you definitely get involved. You definitely get involved, and you're guaranteed to get a laugh. So that being said, man, I just want to thank you, and then keep doing your thing, and much success moving forward. And hopefully another 20 years in the business.
Yeah, thanks, man, and same to you, and all the best, and blessings to you and your family.
Yes, Sunny Bling. It's out, man. I respect.